Streaming from Oklahoma's own digital studio, this is OU Football Update, brought to you by Brahms.
Hi again, everybody. It is time for another Oklahoma's own sports podcast, late week edition. As always, if you enjoy our thrice a week OU updates, please like and subscribe. Doesn't cost you a thing. It only does us good, and I promise you're going to not notice anything that's changed on your end, but please like and subscribe. Share with your friends and your enemies, please. Always on Fridays this year, we have been we've had the honor of being joined by play-by-play voices around the SEC. And today we are joined by the outstanding play-by-play voice of the LSU Tigers as we get set for the Sooners and the Bayou Bengals coming up on Saturday in Norman. Chris Blair is his name. Chris, how are you today, sir?
I'm great, Toby. Looking forward to the matchup. I know it's kind of a big deal over here because it will be the fifth time both of these teams have played. And, of course, you're talking about two iconic brands in the sport. But this is the first time LSU as a team has ever played in Norman. So I know Coach Wilson talked about it. His team's excited. And, you know, just personally, I'm excited to be there on Saturday as well. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. Just seeing these uniforms on the field together in Norman is going to be special regardless of what is on the line. We're talking about two of the iconic brands in college football history. And to see LSU in the whites and OU in the crimsons, it's going to be fantastic. I feel like last year at your place, LSU wore something else. They didn't wear the traditional whites last year. And I remember my heart was disappointed. I love those uniforms. So hopefully they wear the traditional ones this year.
Yeah, I think that's the plan. And no, to your point, LSU fans like the traditional look. Now, obviously, the coaches sometimes like to let the players have a little input, and I understand those guys like to mix it up a little bit. But from a fan perspective, they like the traditional uniform. So this year we haven't done any of that as a team, so I think they will have the traditionals on Saturday.
Well, it has been obviously an interesting year for LSU fans. I'm sure disappointing. You've dismissed the head coach. Frank Wilson's in charge now. This is it. This is the finish line of the regular season. What do you feel like the mindset is of this football team coming into Saturday, Chris?
You know, I think it's basically what Coach Wilson said when he took over as interim head coach. He was pretty clear to everybody that the message to the team was, look, this wasn't what the plan was going into the season. Many of the goals that were on the table are now off the table. But whether or not you're planning to stay at LSU if you have eligibility, or whether or not you're thinking about going into the portal, you need good tape. If you're a coach that's still on the staff and you're not sure what's going to happen in the transition, you need good tape. So I think he broke it down to keep it simple, stupid, Toby, in the sense that he just said everybody has a vested interest in playing their best, even without all those goals at their fingertips. So, and I think that's kind of what the message has continued. I'd be lying if I didn't say LSU is well aware of the fact that Oklahoma right now is looking to get into the college football playoff, and they have a firm foot as we sit here going into this matchup. So a little added to that is our season didn't go well. Why not go over to Norman and try to wreck things for the Sooners? So I think there's kind of two bits of motivation there. One of which has been there since Frank took over, and the other just because of the matchup on Saturday.
It can be a lot of fun. Oklahoma was able to do that to Alabama last year in the midst of a 6-7 season and had a hootin' good time doing it. So ruining somebody else's season is a good motivation as well. Tell us about Frank Wilson.
Well, he is a legend here in Louisiana. Grew up just outside of New Orleans, was a high school star, went on to have a great collegiate career, and then went right into coaching, both high school and then eventually made his way to the college ranks. And he's kind of a recruiting guru, especially within the state of Louisiana. You can go down the roster for this LSU team. In fact, you can for many of the teams since he's been around at different times with different coaches brought in under Les Miles many years ago. But on this year's roster, I mean, Frank has had a very integral hand in all of those men, whether they came in as true freshmen or whether they came in the portal. They were touched by Frank Wilson as part of the recruiting effort. And so, when you talk Frank Wilson, while he hasn't always been at LSU, he's kind of a LSU brand in and of himself. He's the running backs coach and has been for the last couple of seasons. He's kind of like I said, there's not a real, let's make things complicated. Talking to him that first week after taking over the reins, he said, look, there's a lot of things that we had in our playbook that we really thought could be good at. And over 6-7 weeks of the season, we found out we aren't. So we're throwing that in the trash can. We are literally going to take the things that we know our guys can do and do very well. So he's kind of taken that approach. But LSU fans, we've done 3 coaches shows during the week with Frank. The crowds have always been good. He's a very popular character. And I think LSU fans, regardless of what happens over the next couple of weeks and months with a new coach coming in, they're going to be very thankful that Frank was at the helm, that he was able to withstand this hurricane, so to speak, and get the ship going in the right direction. And I'll also say there's an awful lot of gratitude in the fact that you haven't seen a lot of guys, shut the season down as of yet. And right now, they feel pretty good going into next week's first signing day, keeping the class pretty well intact. That doesn't happen if Frank Wilson's not here.
Yeah, no, that's tremendous. I understand in your position, you probably have to answer this question carefully, but how much of a cloud is the whole Lane Kiffin question hanging over the program? Maybe it's not a cloud. Maybe cloud's the wrong word, but I imagine that is dominating sports radio, message boards, all the talk down there right now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't, or I'd be denying the fact that you can't be down here and not hear it 24/7. The good news is that, I was thinking about it earlier in the week. I think I've been through 7 coaching changes for football alone, at Clemson, at Georgia Southern, and now at LSU. And, my approach has always been somebody, and usually a lot of people are involved that have that charge to go find a coach. And I'll get a call at some point, maybe next week, maybe a month from now. They'll say, Chris, this is our new coach. Here's the plan. And that's when I'll get, that's when I get concerned about it. So I try to keep myself out of the rumor and innuendo. There's not a whole lot of facts on X, not a lot of facts on social media to begin with, but it's something that, they call it silly season. And this year across college football, at least in the Power 4 conferences, you've got a lot of schools that are involved in silly season. But, without question, that has been that's what everybody wants to talk about. And the fact that, we've now gone virtually a month, and that kind of started day one, to be honest with you. I think it's starting to slow down, and now people are just anticipating what's the announcement, when's the announcement. But like I said, I'll get concerned when somebody calls me above my pay grade and says, our new coach will be here tomorrow. 10-4. Sounds good.
Sounds like there's a chance it could come either before or during the game on Saturday. So that'll be interesting. All right, I want to ask about some personnel, but before we do, a quick message from our friends at Brahms.
It's time to enjoy the sweet taste of Brahms Strawberry Shortcake Sundae. Our creamy vanilla ice cream is nestled on top of Brahms fresh-baked golden bundt cakes, with spoonfuls of delicious strawberry topping all around, complete with fluffy whipped cream and a cherry, to create the perfect flavor combination. Strawberry goodness is waiting for you at Brahms.
Chris, let's talk quarterback. It seems like the rumblings out there are that it's going to be Michael Van Buren again. Tell us about him, and where do you see Garrett Nussmeier right now? Is there any chance he plays?
I think there's a chance because, again, you're talking about specifically with Garrett Nussmeier that, this is a fifth-year senior, and we talked about it last year, and we talked about it going into this year. I mean, he's kind of a unicorn of college football these days. I mean, he spent his entire career here. And coming off a really impressive year last season with over 4,000 yards, and the offense produced over 5,000 yards. And this year, just, again, he got an ab injury, a core injury very early on, which for a quarterback, barring you injure your throwing arm, that's about as rough as it gets trying to throw because everything comes from your core, as you know. And maybe he tried to fight through it a little bit too long. So they eventually make the decision to shut him down and bring in Michael Van Buren Jr., who, again, started, I think, 8 games for Mississippi State last year. So, you felt pretty good that at least he'd been in an SEC game. He'd been in those SEC atmospheres on the road. And from a skill set, I mean, obviously the the two guys are different. Garrett's much more of a pro-style drop-back quarterback, whereas Michael is more of a dual threat. But the truth is, and I tell people this all the time, when you look at LSU offensively this season, which, again, everybody is scratching their head, they added some great additions out of the portal from the skill positions, including Nick Anderson, who I know you know very well. Mm-hmm. The thought was that all you did was add more firepower to the offense, but unfortunately they were unable to score more than 25 points in a single game this year against an opponent that's not FCS. And so while Michael Van Buren gives you a different look with his ability to run and extend the pocket and extend plays, you're still not putting the football in the end zone. So I don't know that it's a quarterback issue is what I'm getting at. I think it's more starts at the offensive line. They've had struggles both staying healthy and having experienced guys. And so I think the problem offensively all season long, there is plenty of blame to lay at the shoulders of the entire unit. Offensive line, receivers have had some crucial drops, and obviously the quarterback play has not been spectacular. But right now, with somewhat 75% Garrett Nussmeier, and I'm guessing at this point, I think Michael Van Buren, as Coach Wilson said, at this very moment, at least when I talked to him on Monday, he's the quarterback that gives LSU the best chance for victory. Now, a lot can change between Monday and obviously Saturday. I get a feeling Garrett would love to play the final regular season game as QB1, but we'll have to wait and see. But there are two very different styles, and I'm sure Coach Venables and his defensive staff are preparing in that manner.
You mentioned Nick Anderson. Bauer Sharp also headed your way from Oklahoma this year. How have those two guys played?
Well, again, Nick has suffered an injury. He's been out the last couple of games, not very optimistic about his chances to make a homecoming and play there in Norman this weekend. But, again, we'll wait and see. And Bauer Sharp has been a nice 1-2 addition with Trades Green. And Green's kind of the starting tight end, more of the tight end / receiver. And he's a mismatch. I mean, he's 6'7". He's a star basketball player in high school. Thought about playing here at LSU and then decided to stick with football. But he's hard to cover. And whether you want to put a safety on him or a linebacker, he can jump out of the stadium. But Bauer's more of your traditional tight end. He's used for blocking. And he's had some sensational catches, 2 touchdowns on the season as well. So he's been a nice addition. And, again, it gives depth to that tight end room where at times – when LSU needs to go heavy, they'll put 3 tight ends out there, Bauer, Trades, and Donovan Green. So, he's been a nice pickup.
The Oklahoma offense has had a hard time moving the football. What are they facing in this LSU defense on Saturday?
Well, LSU the last 2 seasons coming into this year, obviously the glowing deficiency was on the defensive side. I mean, that goes back to Jaden Daniels' Heisman season. You had to outscore everybody you played. The defense this year has been really, really good. I see a lot of similarities in the stinginess of LSU and certainly Oklahoma, which is one of the toughest defenses in the country, not to mention the SEC. But it's a team that Blake Baker is very confident in. And I think the biggest change, Toby, has been the back end of the defense. They were getting torched the last 3 seasons, really, in the passing game. That hasn't existed this year. Mansour Delane, I think, is arguably the best corner in the country. Finalist for the Thorpe Award announced earlier in the week. You get a guy like A.J. Halsey to kind of take over the safety position. He's a great leader and a vicious defender. And then a couple of young guys who had to step in last week who just shut down Western Kentucky, gave them 19 yards total offense in the second half, and that's an air raid team. And they shut down the passing game with a couple of young players, a freshman and a sophomore, because Mansour wanted to get 100% for this coming Saturday. So defensively, it's a team that's been pretty stingy. Now, they have struggled at times, not every time, but they have struggled at times with dual-threat quarterbacks. Obviously, Chambliss at Ole Miss had a field day, and then Marcel Reed, who's had pretty much a field day against everybody this season. But they did a great job against Lenore Sellers, did a good job last week against Western Kentucky. And they'll be prepared for Mateer, who certainly is a threat to run. I think he's the 2nd or 3rd leading rusher you guys have, so he'll be a part of it. But it's a defense that's been very, very good this year.
All right, last question. We'll get you out of here. And I'm not so much talking mindset, but what would be your biggest concerns X's and O's wise, personnel wise in this game from an LSU perspective?
I think LSU, and I'll be interested to see, Toby, and we'll know very early on, I think LSU has had the inability to stretch the field vertically, which, again, goes back to the head-scratching comment I made earlier. I mean, you've got Nick Anderson throughout the season. You have Aaron Anderson, who we hope will be back. He's missed the last 2 games. You got Barryon Brown, who was a superstar at Kentucky. I mean, you have the ability to stretch the field. We just haven't seen enough of that for LSU this season. And this matchup, particularly against Oklahoma, the running game has been mediocre at best. There's really not been a game where they have lined up and been able to run the ball consistently and effectively. They've gotten a little bit better. Harlem Berry, a freshman running back, is one to watch. But I think LSU is going to have to stretch the field, because when I look at Oklahoma and seeing some of their games, and also statistically, as good as they are defensively, in the SEC, they've given up some yards in the passing game. But LSU has relied heavily on kind of the extension of the run game, meaning side-to-side lateral screen game, swing passes. And I haven't seen a team defensively in the country that covers the 53 1/3 better than Oklahoma. So I don't think that passing attack is going to do much for them. So if you don't have a run and you try to abandon the screen game, the only option you have is to try to extend down the field. We haven't seen that a lot. Last week against the Western Kentucky team that I think was 108th or 109th in the country against the rush, LSU was only about 125 yards on the ground, and they went 20 straight plays, Toby, without handing it off to a running back in the second half. That can't happen. And then finally, I think LSU inside the red zone, I don't know if they can take an antidote. I don't know if somebody can wave a magic wand, but they have got to figure a way to get into the end zone. Way too many field goals. They've relied way too heavily on Damian Ramos, who's a great kicker, by the way.
Yeah.
But they got to end these drives in the end zone, especially against this defense if they get the opportunity. And frankly, when I look at these two defenses and two offenses that have, for the most part, struggled, certainly I think they both would feel like they haven't done what they wanted to do. You got two really good special teams units, and they talk about that being the hidden yards. I think that plays huge, both in the return game as well as getting points. We may have a low-scoring affair, and, you got two really good field goal kickers. They need to get it between the uprights every opportunity they get.
Yeah. Great insight. Play-by-play voice of the LSU Tigers, Chris Blair. Chris, safe travels up to Norman, and look forward to seeing you up in the press box on Saturday. Thanks so much.
No, thank you. Any chance you can warm up the temperatures just a little? All right.
We'll try. We'll make sure the heater's on at the very least and get you guys some umbrellas when you arrive. Thanks to you fine folks for watching as well. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching this Oklahoma's Own digital studio stream. Stay with News 9, online and on television anytime for the latest news, weather, and sports.